All right, so today I'm going to be running you through how to place an order in the new RxWizard online program. First, I want to mention browsers. Ideally, you're using the Google Chrome browser. I brought this up so you can see what the icon looks like with this kind of quad color blue, green, yellow, and red icon. Hopefully, it's already installed on your PC. Theoretically, this order entry works through different browsers, but they have experienced some problems and bugs related to other ones. So ideally, you're using Google Chrome and get that installed. Now, moving on to the actual ordering. You're going to want to go to EncoreVisionUSA.com, our website, and in the upper right-hand corner is, of course, that customer portal still. You'll click that in the upper right-hand corner. It'll take you here, and many of these icons and buttons along the left-hand side will be removed as they get consolidated into the new software. RxWizard Online will be where you'll go for frame ordering, prescription ordering, and job status, tracking numbers, things of that nature. Let's go ahead and click in here, and it's going to take you to RxWizard Online /REF. So you could navigate to this URL yourself by typing it into the browser. Now let me go ahead and start typing in my username and password of my test account here. You can hit enter or that little check button. And you should be able to save your username and password so you won't necessarily have to remember that each time. But I've now logged in and this is your landing page. It's going to show all your recent orders. You can click on these for more information. Clicking on it gives you different options such as printing packing slips, copying the orders if you want to do the same patient maybe twice but different frames so you don't have to start all over again. You can send instructions, cancel orders if you had just submitted it and it hasn't been pulled in the lab and started yet. Modify orders if you realized you had typed something in wrong. Again, so long as it not too much time has passed, you can go in there and actually modify orders or simply view them with this button here on the left hand side. Let me click this, give you a little preview. This is just, again, a test job with looks like a 1 diopter 60 PD here. So whenever you're navigating the screen, you're not going to want to use the back buttons because that'll actually take you out of the program. There's almost always going to be a button in the upper right hand corner like this X to take you back to the previous screen. Up here, it gives you a color code for these previously ordered jobs. As far as if they were saved, shipped, canceled, they'll have different color codes. And if you forget what the color code is, you can click that button there. This stock order with the little shopping cart and this little squiggly line for reports. We'll talk about that in a separate video for frame ordering and reports. So that being said, let's dive into actually placing a new prescription order with this plus button in the very upper left hand corner. So there's a lot of fields here. Don't be overwhelmed. Many of these are not necessary and in fact can be left blank and will default. And I'll try and talk about those as we approach them. First and foremost, yeah, we'll start with the patient name. I'm just going to do a John Doe here. You'll see it populates a little bit lower. And when we get to lab, you can often use tab to go through these fields. I'm going to use the mouse here to click Encore Vision. You do have to select the lab even if Encore Vision is your only one. Hopefully they change that someday, but yes, you have to do the drop down to Encore Vision or else the rest of this is not going to load properly. So package and edge, you're going to leave blank for now. In the future, we might be able to offer frame and lens packages, but we're not utilizing that feature currently. Edge, you can leave blank so long as it's a typical prescription order. If I click in this, you'll understand more. These little drop downs will give you additional information and dialog boxes typically. So you'll see here edge and mount, uncut, edge and no mount, and mount only. So if you leave this blank, it's going to default to the edge and mounts, the most common one. So you don't even have to type anything in here if it's just going to be your default edge and mount. I'm going to go ahead and click off of that, and I won't even necessarily put anything in. Let me tab over, or you can click to the RX field, and this one is going to be the first one where you're probably going to want to put something in many of our accounts. This can be a tray number of the patient's job in your clinic. It can be a PO number. It can be an authorization number, chart number, anything you want to be printed on the invoice and referenced when it comes back to you. So this, yeah, sometimes we see people with like a purchase referred care, like authorization number or their chart number. Go ahead and put that in this field if you wish. It's not required though. You can leave this field blank. Type and original invoice. Those you can also leave blank and they are not required. This would just be if you were doing a redo job, and you can leave original invoice number blank unless, again, you want to reference some sort of previous invoice number that we are redoing. Let me go ahead and delete these since we won't be using it on this order. Ideally, you're using your decimal places for typing in sphere and cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Not putting a sign in front here is going to default to a positive. So you have to put a minus sign in here if you want to make it a, obviously negative cylinder or negative sphere power. Let's go ahead and put in some data. I'm going to do a monocular PD here of 32. Yeah, let's go ahead and I'm going to leave the near field blank. It will default a near PD for you. So everything basically after PD on this particular line is not necessary to submit the order. Of course, if you have a job with Prism, you're going to want to fill this out. This will tell the system if you're doing base in or base out on your prism in this next field, your horizontal prism, and then here, of course, is going to be your up and down. That should be a lot more simple than our previous software when it comes to that. Also found here, you can specify information regarding, you can hover over these and it's going to give you little help dialogues boxes often. So if I click this, you can specify if it's a binocular or monocular. Again, this is unnecessary. It'll go to defaults. You can leave it blank unless something, again, is niche and out of the ordinary. You might want to specify things in there. Here's where you would maybe specify balance lens. Again, not necessary to fill this field out 99% of the time. We know we're going to be supplying the lens, but if they are blind in that eye, you can select B there for balance. And you don't have to use these drop downs. Once you know what these fields mean, you can just type a B in on the keyboard and move on to the next one without actually using the mouse to drop down and select it manually. So let me go ahead and delete that out, and we'll drop down to lens style. I'm going to show you the easiest way to enter your orders now. Let me pull up. All right, I just noticed I didn't put in the other eye. I'm going to actually make this a split plus minus order so that it's going to flag us, and we can talk about that when we get to that point. There we go. So the easiest way to order lenses is to use these drop downs right now. Again, eventually you'll know what they are in the system, and if you know you want to do a universal lens, you can start typing it in this field, and it's going to start narrowing down the results to what it thinks you might want. So I just typed in UN, and the only other there's only two lenses that have those letters in there that I could select. So Universal B just popped up right there, and I can tab to the next one. You can also not type in anything there and get the whole list and scroll through it. Some of you will have longer versions here, and this is kind of a condensed version of the lens catalog. So yeah, let me go ahead and select that universal balance again. Material, same thing. Eventually you'll know all the shortcuts, you can just type them in, but here it'll show, much like the price guide, the order that it is in: CR39, plastic, then poly, Trivex, 167, 174, as I'm scrolling down through this big list. Unlike previously, you do have to not only select material, but also filter when it comes to this field. No longer will you do poly and then select maybe transitions and color in the next field. Here you have to kind of specify if you're going to be doing like a photochromic. So let me scroll down here to the polys, and I'm going to actually select this SPY. This is going to be photochromic poly. If I didn't select the photochromic, when I went to this next field, it would show different options. So let me just quickly back up and show you what that might look like. If I just typed in PLY for poly and went to this field, it would only show clear, and it's not going to show you your photochromic options. So you have to select under this first material field, not only the material, but the filter and coding that you want on there. So I'm going to again select photochromic poly. Color, we have our photochromic brown, the dark photochromics that are new in 2024 for us. And here we go, just the regular photochromic gray. Now, if you leave this bottom lens blank, it's gonna just automatically assume the same for the left eye that it is for the right eye. So the only time you have to fill this out is if they are in fact different between right and left eye. Obviously, that's going to be very rare. It won't hurt if you go ahead and fill this out again as like a universal B, SPY, PGY in this second field, but it's unnecessary. All right, so since I've selected a universal balance, I will need an add power. This is one field that you will not use a decimal point in. You only have to type in the main first digits of the add power. Let me explain. If I do try and type in 2.50, it's gonna error out because it's actually looking for, I believe, a 0.25 add, which is not possible. So in this field, if we're doing a 250 add, you just type in 250 and it's going to move you over. You don't need the decimal place in the add field. So seg height, let's go ahead and put in a seg height of 18. And the rest of this is unnecessary for most jobs. OC height, this is obviously a progressive that we're specifying seg height on, so it does not apply. Virtually all jobs, these fields here are going to be unnecessary. You can, of course, hover over these, and it's going to give you more information where you can specify thickness. You could type in, for instance, you wanted a 2.0 millimeter edge thickness, and you could specify that. But again, 99% of the time, you're going to leave that off and it's going to go to defaults. So I'm going to skip the second half of all these fields and drop down into coatings. This is where you're going to select, yeah, your anti-reflective coatings, your mirror coatings, if you need an ultraviolet for your CR39, etc. Most people are going to be using our oxide in-house anti-reflective coating. This top one here is going to be your regular green entry-level one that everyone uses, really high premium quality one. Don't get me wrong, but it's most common one we sell. I'm going to go ahead and select one of those, and you can do multiple. Rarely is this going to be the case. You may, on a CR39, do a UV coating as well as an anti-reflective. This is a poly, so that's unnecessary. Tints, pretty self-explanatory. You select your density, 1, 2, and 3. and style. So this is your solid tints, your gradient tints, double gradient tints, and your therapeutic way there at the bottom. And you'll list color. So since this is a photochromic, I don't want to have a tint on here, but if you were to put it on here, you would put your density and color. So you can, or if you want to match the tint of a sample that you're sending in, you could type that in there as well. So let's go ahead and delete these out since we're doing a photochromic currently. All right, so coming down to frame now. There's two different ways to go about entering it. Let's go ahead and do the first one, which is clicking this purple button. It's going to bring up a list of the different manufacturers we offer here at Encore. I'm going to go ahead and select one of our Encore Vision frames. Let's drop down into maybe one of our house brand EV3 collection. So we got EV300, and you can just keep clicking over to the right in this cascading menu to pick out the frame your patient has selected. And it's gonna just, you might have noticed in the background, it's auto-filling everything in for us as far as temple type, bridge measurements, A measurements, etc. So I just kind of navigated that big cascading menu and it just populated manufacturer, which is Encore Vision, abbreviated ENCV, collection, frame name, color, edge type, which I don't think I can. Yeah, here we go. Here's all the different edge types. Your normal one that most frames are is your hide bevel. HB is the code, but here's your grooved, metal groove, rimless drill, different options for different frames. Most of the time, if it's something we sell, it's going to auto-populate this for you, and you don't even have to select anything. So I'm just going to select that hide bevel again. You'll see it's filled in the entire thing for me. And it in fact has kind of a rough trace down here, so you no longer have to do an A, B, E, D, or DBL when it's already pulled in a trace for you. These are now unnecessary fields. The other way to go about entering a frame, I just cleared those out, is to use these drop downs. So if you drop down, much like that cascading menu, it shows the manufacturers that are available, and you can sit here and just click down through all of these. So let's go to maybe an intrigue frame, and we'll do a intrigue 203. Here's the three different colors it's available in. Height of bevel, we need to select an eye size. Even though there's only one eye size, we do have to come in here and select it, even if there's one entry. And there we go. That's also the second way to enter in it. And I think it's maybe the easier way than instead of the cascading menu, but both ways are available to you. Now, we now come down to service codes. Now, there's obviously some of the easy ones in here, such as polish edge, roll at lens edge, roll and polish, case and cleaning cloth, things that you would have added previously. But for our tribal accounts that have PRC accounts, you'll actually be able to select a PRC service code, and it's going to change it on the billing side to your corresponding PRC account without you having to sign out and sign into a different account. So let me go ahead and delete that out and instead select something else. In fact, let's go ahead and start typing in. I can start typing in PO and it's going to take us down to roll and polish or just polish edge and start narrowing down the results instead of scrolling through all the possible ones here. Code, you can again do more service codes here, and you can specify maybe just on the right or left lens, whereas the ones over here specify for both. Probably very rarely used, but maybe your doctor wants to specify slab off on just a right eye, apply service to right eye. Note that's available to you, but again, going to be rarely used. Lastly, much like our last software, there is instructions. The more information, the better. Go ahead and use these to your heart's content and type into here information that might be useful. If it's one of our tribal and IHS accounts, you'll want to definitely put in there the job total, or if you've done a credit card or money order payments, so that we can go ahead and find that later on. All right, so we've gotten this far. And let me actually just put in a test note here. Down in the lower right-hand corner, there's several buttons. You can, if you're not ready to submit this order, maybe you're waiting for the patient to come back and pay for it, and you just wanted to get it typed in and ready to go, you can save and hold the job where it'll put it back to the previous list. Or you can also do a quick validate where it's going to check and look for any sort of errors on this order. And if everything looks good, you'll see that little dialog box, no errors found, and we can go ahead and send on to the laboratory. If we had something along the lines of a larger, maybe prescription difference, if I put like 10 diopters in on this left eye and there's now an 11 diopter difference, it's going to flag us and basically warn us that we might have made an entry error and we can correct it before submitting. But if this is in fact correct, you can go ahead and send it to the lab, of course, but it is going to flag you on certain changes. So let's go ahead and hit send to the lab now for this John Doe. You'll see it clears all the fields and will allow you to put in additional orders. If you're done and you want to go to the previous page, again, you're going to want to go to the upper right hand corner and click this X button and it'll take you to your order page. Here's that last patient we just did, John Doe. Again, we can view the order that we just placed, the universal, poly, photochromic, and gray lists the frame we just picked out. And I can X out and come back. It gives us some more information as far as like web order, and again, you can copy this to a new order, etc. Let me in fact copy this because I wanted to show you one other way to select a lens. I used these drop-down menus previously and showed you how you can start typing in here to pull in a lens, but you can also use, similar to the frame side, you can use this button to the left to do kind of a cascading menu for lenses. I don't think this is as intuitive and it might be a bit more difficult, but it is available to you. So if you wanted to, for instance, just look at progressives, you can do hit these little carrots and it'll drop down and show you just the progressives that are available to you. So if we wanted to this time do an endless steady, we can click into this and you'll see the different materials that are available. Trivex is going to be listed under mid index now. And if we wanted photochromic, again, we have to select it at this point. So your transitions or our in-house photochromic brands, be it the default or the dark versions, you would have to select it at this point. And you'll see it opens up all the different transitions in photochromics in the different materials, CR39, Trivex, Poly, high index, etc. Let's go ahead and jump back to plastic, and we'll select blue blocking. See, that would not have been under the photo change option. So I can click a blue blocking CR39 and I can select the various different add powers for this endless steady. So I can go ahead and hit a 350 and it's going to fill that whole thing in for me, including the add power, the material, color. You don't have to click through these fields doing it in this fashion. It'll autofill them. Since it did put in both eyes, I'm going to go ahead and put 18 on this guy. So let's go ahead and try and submit this. It might flag us as a duplicate, but I think because we've changed the lens style, it might be different enough for us to submit it. Yep. If that was an exact duplicate, it would would have probably flagged us as being a possible duplicate order. So here's those two we have just submitted here in gray. I can click between these to get more information from here. But yeah, that's the long and short of it. How to place orders through our new order entry portal. It's already a 25-minute video, so I'd want to kind of hold it off here and talk more about the other systems and other possibilities in a later video. Have a great day.